All right. Welcome to Pivot class number 3. We're getting there, and we have a very special guest who I'll introduce in a few minutes. But before we do that, I have a little bit of housekeeping that we have to do, and I'm going to share my screen with you. And who can I pick on now? Van, can you just give me the thumbs up if you can see my screen? All right. So we're recording now, and again, here we are, Pivot class number 3. I'm glad you guys could join us live. Lots of people, as you know, can't come during the day. They have to watch it at night, so they're missing out a little bit. Now, everybody remember that we have a chat box, and so if there are any questions that you have of me or of our guest speaker today, Siavosh Nouruziaan, please put it in the chat box. If you know the answer to the question, this started happening last week, please feel free to try and answer it, right? It doesn't have, the answer doesn't have to come from me or Siavosh. It can come from other people in the class. And I really encourage that kind of cross communication. All right, so this is class number 3. And we have a little bit of housekeeping to do. So I'm going to do that before we talk to Siavosh and hear from him. Some of you still owe me some assignments. I know there's a lot of work in this course. There's a lot of reading. There's a lot of training videos. You know, it is what it is. If you stick with it right through until the end of July, this course, I really believe, will turn you into a fantastic operator of a personal business for life. I've done it for, now thousands of people, and I get a chance to do it one more time with you guys. So some of you still owe me your message map and your elevator pitch assignments. And the good news is next week we do not have, can you all, Van, can you hear my audio? Armin, how come you can't hear my audio? It might be on your end. Make sure your speakers are on, okay? Armin, can somebody type into Armin to remind him to turn on the speakers, because sometimes that happens. Somebody just type that in for me, so I'll keep going. Siavosh, you can hear me okay, right? Okay, so it's not my issue. The good news is next week, no class, relief. So it's your reading week and your assignment week, all right? And so if you haven't caught up on all your assignments, next week is your chance to do that. Now, send me your assignments. I will read and comment on each and every one of them, all right? So, and I'll make suggestions. I've already been doing that. Usually my service level agreement is that I will answer you the same day or the next day, but I'm a bit overwhelmed with email and I'm a little bit behind. So if it takes me longer than usual, I apologize, but I will answer every single email. There is another assignment, sigh. There is another assignment due next week, even though there's no class. And that is, I would like to have one student-led lecture. I've been doing this for a long time, so I would like each of you to think of 2 burning questions, 2 things that you really want to know about being a gigpreneur, about being an entrepreneur. I want you to write those down and send them to me, and we're going to have one class where I will try and answer as many of those questions as I can. All right, so see if you could get those questions to me next week. Just 2 questions that you think, geez, if I could only figure out those 2 things, maybe that would really help me. And then so that's by June 4th, so that's next Thursday. The following week, your business models are due. So I would really like you now to try and draw up a business model for each and every one of you and send it to me. And then the week after that, this is exciting, on June 18th, I want you all to launch your businesses. Some of you already have existing businesses, that's fine, but we're going to tweak your business model so they grow faster, they're more profitable, they reach more people, they do more good work for you and for the people in your stakeholder group. So 2 weeks from today, I want everybody to be in a position to launch their business. Man, for you, that means you got to get some skater outfits done. All right. And you got, I don't care if it's a Shopify store or an Etsy store, get some of that stuff up there. Okay. All right. He's shaking his head. Yes. All right. Good. All right. Something else I haven't said yet. We deal with a lot of intellectual property in this course. You know, Van has his skater stuff. We're going to hear from Siavosh Nouruziaan in a minute about how he built Empire Deck and Fence from 0 when he started it in my class to $3 or $3.5 million a year in sales. So you're going to hear a lot of inside secrets. If you want to quote unquote, borrow any of those or use any of those ideas, there's nothing that says you can't use it, provided you ask permission, right? So I've been doing this, since the 90s, and no student has ever stolen an idea, but they have borrowed ideas. As long as you have somebody's permission, fine. All right, so remember that. Have respect for the intellectual property of the people in your class and of the guest speakers. And if you hear something, oh, that's really good, I should use it, just ask permission, and hopefully you'll get a yes, all right? But ask permission. Now, you remember we did in the preparatory webinar, I did a business model for Brianna. She had her cleaning service, and it looked like this. This was business model number 2. I just wanted to make sure that you know that in 2 weeks from now, I'm expecting you to produce something like this. And I don't care, some of you have already started working on it. I don't care if it's a hand-drawn picture. I do lots of hand-drawn pictures, as you know. Or it can be typed up, whatever you find most convenient and comfortable for you. But in 2 weeks' time, I would like you to submit to me a business model, and I will definitely comment on it and hopefully improve it for you. So this was Brianna's cleaning service, and you remember it was called Keeping It Clean. So in the middle of your business model, there is the business, which in this case is a pretty simple business to understand, cleaning service. On the left-hand side are your suppliers. So she needed like cleaning supplies, vacuum cleaners, mops, basic supplies for her business. But also, as her business grew, you remember that she started to employ contract cleaners, right? So even though they're quote-unquote employees or independent contractors, they are suppliers to the business. They supply their work and their services to the business. On the right-hand side are her customers. So you're going to do the same thing. On the left-hand side will be your suppliers, right-hand side will be your customers. Now in her case, her customers were typically busy executives who didn't have time to clean their homes. And they were also elders who might have needed a little bit of extra help keeping their homes and apartments clean. A big part of Brianna's early success was Airbnb. And the reason that was such a huge addition to her business was the hosts of Airbnbs. They need a lot more cleaning than a typical house. And in these days, no one will go to an Airbnb that isn't deep clean, just in case they could get sick from COVID-19. So Airbnbs was an important early customer of Brianna's business, Keeping It Clean. And then she did this pivot during COVID-19, which was to add commercial clients. And if you think about the commercial clients, like a restaurant typically would do a deep clean twice a year, usually once in the spring and once in the fall. They peel all the furniture back and they clean it right, end to end as best they can. But today you might have to do that every week, or maybe even every day, to keep COVID-19 at bay and to make sure your customers are comfortable coming to your restaurant. So you can imagine what an enormous increase in demand there will be, and there is, for cleaning services, and Brianna is going to pivot into that direction as well. Then every business model has up here in the top right-hand corner a marketing dimension, because as I've said to you before, it's no good having a business, whatever it is, coaching practice or skateboard equipment or skateboard clothing, if you can't reach customers cost effectively, right? And so for Brianna, her marketing was very simple. She would circulate flyers and door hangers to the neighborhoods where she wanted to work. She would put lawn signs in, if you know what they are, little signs that says, Keeping It Clean. If you need help, call me now. She had a website, social media, and of course, word of mouth is very powerful. I referred her to a number of Airbnb hosts, and they loved her work, and that helped her grow the business. So word of mouth is great. Now, business models also have this thing called the brain. Right now, for Brianna, the brain is just her brain. And so if she has a busy executive who needs a cleaner, Brianna will say, oh yeah, I think Shelley will be the best person to match that particular demand. So her brain is simply the person, it's like eHarmony, where you match men and women, girlfriends and boyfriends together. This is what a brain does, it matches. When you're a small business, it's just your brain or my brain or Brianna's brain doing that. But if you get to be the size of some of the businesses I coach, where you have 160 cleaners or you have 1,000 cleaners, that isn't going to work. You can't just have a board and a bunch of pins on the board you move around. You actually have an automated back end that matches, all right? So that's what you need. So that is kind of a basic business model, and that's what I need from you guys in 2 weeks. All right. Why do we want business models? Why don't we just start our business? To heck with business models. Get the business model right, GTBMR, and it means that you will make more money with less effort. You will find new relationships between your ecosystem, inside your ecosystem and your stakeholder group that you will not see unless you actually do something like this, where you start to see things that, oh, gee, if I did this and I did this and I added that, maybe my business will grow faster and do better work. And here's a quote from me: you can think your way to wealth a lot faster than you could work your way there. So if you just rush out without thinking about your business model and start a business, and it's kind of all over the place, and there's no real focus, and you're doing maybe 10 or 15 different things, it probably isn't going to work as well as if you had a business model. All right, let's keep going. I want to show you a business model. This is a few years old now. That was started by two Waterloo engineers, Ray Cow and Adita Shah. And they started a business called Luxbox. Some of you may know it. It was originally called Loose Button, but it is now called Luxbox. Now, what did Ray and Adita know about the beauty products industry? They're two engineers from Waterloo. They knew nothing. But they had an idea that they could solve a problem. Let's see what that problem might be. Before I tell you what the problem is that they solve, this is what a Luxbox looks like. It's delivered to clients, 98% of them who are female, and inside you discover all kinds of samples of beauty products and health and wellness things that are maybe relevant and interesting to you, and it's delivered once a month. What was the problem that Adita Shah and Ray Cow initially solved while they were still students at the University of Waterloo? They realized that big companies like L'Oreal, Moroccan Oil, Belief, Dermalogica, and others, if they wanted to hand out samples, they would hire a bunch of usually attractive young men and women. They would go to shopping centers and say, would you like to sample this perfume or this new beauty product or this new skincare product or this new vitamin or health and wellness thing? And then people would say, oh, sure, and then they'd walk away. They didn't collect any data. So what they did was they came up with this idea of a business model, which developed into what is Luxbox. And I'll show you what the business model looks like. It looks a little complicated, but I'll make it very, very simple. And Siavosh, stand by. We're coming to you in a few minutes. So this is their business model, and it is absolutely brilliant. All right. So this is Lux box right here, or Loose Button as it was originally called. In the middle, that's kind of where your business is. Over here on the right-hand side are customers. And those customers were women, 98% were women who subscribed. When they subscribed, they had to create a profile of the stuff that they're interested in. So now what Ray and Adita could do is they could go to people like L'Oreal and Belief and everyone else and say, guess what? We have 10,000, in this case now many more, but initially 10,000 women, 98% women, and we know what their likes and dislikes are. Would you like to be part of this system? And these people who were gathering zero data before said, absolutely. Now here's where it gets interesting. So after a year, they had about 10,000 subscribers to their Luxbox, which meant at $12 a box per month, they were getting $120,000 a month in income from their customers. Well, that's where you usually get paid, right? By your customers. But what was really cool about it is they charged their suppliers, Belief and Moroccan Oil and CoverGirl and Estee Lauder and all these suppliers, they charged them a rights fee to put their stuff inside a Luxbox. So can you imagine how cool it would be, Siavosh, for you, for example, if while you're building decks and fences, Home Depot and Lowe's and Rona gave you all the material for free. And in addition to that, they paid you a rights fee. Now that would make you even more profitable than you are. So they were getting paid. Think about that. They were getting paid on both sides of their business model. Suppliers were giving them free products to put in the box and paying a rights fee to be in the box. So they're getting paid on both sides of the equation. And then you remember I said that each business needs to have a magic marketing button. You remember this guy, right? Which you get at Staples.
That was easy.
Right. Everybody needs one of these. So if you come to me with a business model 2 weeks from now and says, if only I had a Super Bowl commercial for $5.5 million US, 30 seconds, I could find my first customer. Well, that's not going to work in this class, and it's probably not going to work at all. All right. So we're not into the Super Bowl commercial for skater clothing or anything else. So what was really amazing was people like the Globe and Mail, Amazon Prime, People Magazine, Chatelaine Magazine came to Adita and Ray and said, can we give out subscriptions to Luxbox to our clients who sign up for a subscription to Prime or to People Magazine? Now, what do entrepreneurs say? Van, this is to you because I can see you. What do entrepreneurs say when somebody asks that question?
I don't know.
If somebody's going to give you money as an entrepreneur to market your stuff for you, what do you say?
Yes.
There you go. You can mute yourself now. So entrepreneurs are good at that. That's what you want to do. You want to make sure that you're getting paid. And I don't think I've ever seen another model. I've seen models that get paid on two sides before, you know, marketing and from customers and sometimes from suppliers, but I've never seen one where all three were paying money. So imagine that. And so what Ray and Adita did was they said to, you know, Chatelaine Magazine and Globe and Mail, we'll give you a break on the price. So you can offer the subscriptions to your you know, a subscription to Luxbox to your customers. And instead of charging you $12 a month, we'll charge you $8 a month. So they were getting paid by people who were helping the market, they were getting paid by their suppliers, and they were getting paid by their customers. That's why business models are so powerful. You discover things that probably you could never discover any other way. All right, so I have to play this video for you. This is Walter Willett. And Walter Willett is the founder of Horse Country Campground. And he is going to tell you how you start a business and how you learn about the business, okay? And Van, again, if you can hear it, okay, you give me the thumbs up. If you can't hear it, give me the thumbs down. So I'm going to play it for you guys. It's a very short video. This is Walter and me driving at Horse Country Campground. So I'm here today with Walter Willett, the founder of Horse Country. And Walter, when you started this business, obviously you knew everything about running a horse ranch, right?
Actually, quite the opposite, Bruce. Not only did I know nothing about running a horse ranch, but I really knew nothing about horses.
No way.
Yeah, no. So I made every mistake you could possibly think of, and I lost a lot of money making those mistakes.
So who taught you to run horse country? How do you run it? And how did you learn how to run it properly?
Well, talking to customers. I mean, 5 years of talking to customers, and then you figure out what they want, and then you just do that.
So it's really your customers who taught you how to run this business.
Absolutely, because I know nothing about horses, even though I'm the owner of Horse Country.
All right, thank you, Walter.
You're welcome.
So how about that? Walter knew nothing. He doesn't even ride horses. I went up there with my youngest daughter to ride horses and, you know, have some fun at Horse Country Campground. And I've known Walter for a number of years. And he told me when he started Horse Country Campground, he knew nothing about horses, couldn't ride a horse. He likes pickup trucks better. And he said, you don't have to really know anything about it. So Ray and Adita didn't really know anything about beauty products, but they had a lot of experience in building database systems and extracting useful information from the data. And they built this wonderful business model, get paid on all three sides. So the most important thing for everybody who's watching this this training, whether it's live tonight or today or recorded tonight, is to start your business. You know, as you walk, the path appears, right? That's a Persian philosopher who said that. And it's really true. If you're not sure that you have all the details worked out in advance, you're right, you don't. You never will. And the moment you come into contact with a customer, with the marketplace, they will ask questions that you will have never, ever, ever given any regard to, and it will change what you do. It will pivot your model yet again. So don't try to do your best on your business model. I'll add whatever I can to it. And then you just launch it, and your customers will teach you everything you need to know about your business. They will ask you questions and you will learn from them. All right, a little bit more housekeeping, and then we're going to Siavosh. June 10th, so not next week, but the week after, you guys know I run the ROI group. It's a free online meetup group, mainly focused on real estate. And I know a lot of you guys are interested in real estate. So on June 10th, you will get an invitation. Scott McCready from Ferris is going to talk about the products that they build. They build tiny houses in Kingston, Ontario, and I just show you one of the products that they build. This is called the Beach House, which is actually a little mini office you can put in the backyard of your own home over a property that you're renting. It's a fully equipped office. You just plunk it down. You don't even need a building permit for it. It's so small. You plunk it down, it comes with heating, lighting, you hook it up to the electrical system, you give it a tech package. You're gonna hear on June 10th from Scott. And then I'm gonna talk after that about what I call an OES program. OES is actually not my term, it comes from Darian Tuitt. It stands for the 1-year exit strategy. Darian originally designed this strategy to get people out of jobs that they hate. Today, we don't have to worry about getting people out of jobs they hate because they don't have jobs. The numbers this morning were terrible in the United States, over 40 million unemployed, 40 million unemployed now, and in Canada, well over 7 million. So the OES program is very interesting, and I'm going to spend about an hour describing how you can use different types of real estate, including this beach house, to actually create a little business for yourself and maybe get yourself, a side gig. So that'll come to you. It's the ROI group. You've probably seen it already. All right, enough of that. So today, we're going to hear from Siavosh Nouruziaan, Empire Deck and Fence founder, former student of mine. He's got not 1, but 2 degrees, chemical engineering and a management degree. When he started the business in the class, he did about 8,000 in sales, which I thought was pretty good. And it is now an organization with 25 employees doing in excess of $3 million. He's also running something I didn't know until I read this in Siavosh's material called Built for Growth, a training program helping contractors grow from 200,000 a year in sales to 750,000 in sales in just 2 years. And that's very believable because Siavosh is a master marketer. And I can't wait to hear more from Siavosh. So I'm going to stop sharing now my screen, and Siavosh, it's over to you. You have to unmute yourself, Sia.
Thanks a lot, Bruce, for that introduction. And we're sharing our screen, so we're live.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay, Bruce, thank you so much for the intro. For those of you, I think Bruce mentioned it loosely, but I was lucky enough before this whole pandemic thing to hit. I was Bruce's student at Ottawa U. I joined his entrepreneurship class. And I was studying engineering. I had just built 2 decks in the summer, and I'm reading this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Some of you guys have heard of it. And it talks about you need a mentor. You need a mentor, right? And the book keeps saying you need a mentor. And there's something about the subconscious mind that if you keep focusing on something, it appears. So people keep talking about Bruce, keep talking about Firestone, and then I send an email out to the guy. I'm like, Bruce, do you mind if I join your course? He sends me off to the faculty. The faculty is obviously like, no, you don't qualify. You're not a management student. We can't let you in. Bruce, being the great guy that he is, he says, listen, guys, let's let the kid in. He lets me into the program. I do well. I won the West Nickel business plan competition. And then next thing I know, a year later, I'm in Bruce's office. Like, he's literally down the hall. So imagine in 12 months, your life changes, right? Like in 12 months, something goes into you read a book, you get introduced to an idea, and it goes into your subconscious mind, and then it comes into reality, right? Start this company, Empire Deck and Fence, and we went from $0 to $3 million. And the fact is, if you're in Ottawa, if you're in the construction business, you might be lucky. So I'm going to do a little bit of presentation of my own personal journey, the ups, the downs, the mechanics of marketing, sales, running construction, the financing, but I'm also going to touch a little bit about the psychology of an entrepreneur, right? Bruce will talk about that too. But what does it take to go through the dark times, right? So that's a little bit about that. I run a company that's called Empire Deck and Fence, But you know how people pivot? Apparently there's more money in interlock than there's in fence. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, but we introduced interlock and it kind of made sense. If you're doing a high-end deck, they might want a $15,000 to $30,000 patio. So we started subcontracting that for a while, and then we brought that in-house. So we do Empire deck, fence, and interlock. A little bit about me, Ottawa U Engineering. I used to run a window cleaning franchise. One of the advice I would give a lot of you is, yeah, go start your business, but maybe mentor or mentee under someone. Maybe go work for an entrepreneur. I ran a window cleaning franchise. I learned a lot there. And then halfway through, I pivoted into construction. Won the West Nickel business plan competition. It was a competition that Bruce hosted out of Ottawa U. I was lucky enough to work down the hall. And to be frank, I can't believe he actually let me into his office, because I was that crazy kid that was down the hall. And I'm telling you, if Bruce is down the hall, every week I was showing him a deal. I'm like, Bruce, what do you think of this? They're honest, and he's smiling because he knows. Every week I was showing this guy a property. I'm like, Bruce, what do you think of this? It's like, well, yes, you know, you can't build glass structures on brick structures because the load bearing and engineering. And he would explain stories using metaphors and analogies and storytelling. Every week I'm in this guy's office. So I was lucky enough I bought a fire damaged duplex in Chinatown. We ripped off the back wall. We underpinned it. We put in a basement apartment. We bought 5,000 square feet of commercial real estate right downtown Ottawa for less than 100 grand. We did a syndication to buy a 10-unit apartment building in Hintonburg. And then we even went as far as looking to acquire 24 acres of heavy industrial land out in Greeley. So imagine from 21 to 24, like things are just happening. Like it's almost like a manifestation process, right? And it got crazy, right? And then, so that was the journey up, right? And then apparently there's a journey down as well. But that journey down might be good for you. So the fact is in Ottawa, there's a lot of demand for construction. I'm lucky enough to keep building, right? Like Bruce asked me later about the whole COVID situation. I think part of it is you got to count your blessings, right? Like, yeah, there's a pandemic going on, but like, I hate to say this, people starving all over the world, right? So I want you to count your blessings and know the fact that you're in Ottawa, you're in a fantastic city, right? So there's opportunity out there. You just got to look for it, right? And if you're in this class, you're lucky enough to be in this class, to be being mentored by a guy like Bruce. So this is an opportunity in of itself right now. Throughout the presentation, I might use the F word every now and then. So just as a disclaimer, please don't judge me, but I might animate the conversation here and there. So I'm going to hit you guys with 6 points. And it's a little bit about my journey. Number one is marketing. Okay, how do you get the phone to ring? How do you get people calling you? Number two is how do you build a sales organization, right? How do you go? And as an entrepreneur, you got to start selling. But at some point, you got to stop selling and you got to relinquish yourself in sales. So last week, we did about $140,000 in sales. I didn't meet a single client. I didn't do a single quote. And that revenue came in, the deposit checks came in. I didn't do anything because I actually built a sales org. I built a marketing funnel and I built a sales organization. I'll tell you guys a little bit about that. I'll tell you about what happened when my project manager quit mid-scale. I had one salesperson. He was putting a lot of he was almost putting a little bit of pressure on the company. He was applying a little bit of leverage. We had to get rid of him. We brought on 3 more to take control. And then right mid-scale, my project manager quit. So in the deepest, darkest time, what's going to pull you through when there's no hope? And Bruce, he has that analogy of when he was applying for the NHL. And they said, you will never, ever get a franchise, right? And he got the franchise. So I'll tell you a little bit about that. I'm going to tell you guys about how I bootstrapped the company, how I use cash flow for my clients, how I use loans from my vehicle providers, and how I got a fantastic programming through Finance It, where we can actually finance the project for the clients at low interest rates. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about that. Wow. And I'll tell you what the difference is between a one-man operation, a mom and pop operation, and actually developing an organizational chart. And finally, Bruce talks about this a lot. There's a thing called intrapreneurs. There's people who used to run their own business, but at some point it got too messy, it got too hard. One of the functions was out of whack and they shut down their business, right? But they're still entrepreneurial. If you can build a great organization, you can put a fantastic compensation model in place, they might come work for you and bring that entrepreneurial energy into your organization, right? So how do you set up an organization where you can attract entrepreneurs to grow your business for you? And I'll tell you guys a little bit about that. So one of the themes you'll find throughout my journey is you're going to need mentors, right? And ideally with all due respect, you find a handful of mentors, and that forms your board of advisors. I've been very lucky. I told you the story. He came into the classroom, right? I signed up for the class, and then Bruce actually came in. So I got lucky when he came in. And he was my first prof. We had built 2 decks. The summer after, we did $110,000 in sales. This is me with my t-shirt on and my trailer. We're in Barhaven, right? We're in off of Cambrian Road. This is not Minto's, the other one, Madame's subdivision, right? And we door knocked. I door knock, right? If you're gonna start a business, you gotta close deals, you gotta sell. I door knocked. We closed 3 fences. This is me closing. This is me on a job site with 3 fences. And these are my sales reps today. Look how freaking happy they are, right? They're just smiling, they're all happy dokey because they don't have to door knock. Because the fact is, last week or last month, we got 447 leads, right?
Oh.
Right? I don't know if that's good enough, but we got 447 leads in 30 days, and that's my company logo, right? We can't keep up with the demand, right? So that's a good problem to have, but it's still a problem to have, right? So we got to figure that part of the business out. And there's a couple things, like we're first page on Google, we spend our money on AdWords, we got great reviews. That sounds cool to have great reviews, but you got to build a culture that reinforces the reviews. Award-winning company, 3 times Homestar's Best of Award. We recently won the Consumer Choice Award. And again, like that's the fruit on the tree, right? The culture, the company culture, the organizational values is what, like, it's the employees that give you the reviews and the awards, right? So like, how do you build organizational trust where your laborer trusts you, your foreman trusts you, your subcontractors trust you, and a subcontractor that gives customers great experience? Why would they do that, right? They're in it for the money, but like for some reason they have to care about the customer. So what are the core values in organizational trust that actually provide all this, right? And something we're missing on is who's doing the work, right? So this is my construction manager, Ryan, with his beautiful wife, Lydia. This is John. John recently closed his business to come join us, right? He was a subcontractor, he was a foreman. He said, hey, you know what? I like Empire, I like the vision. I'm gonna stop my business. I'm gonna come work for you as an employee. And we're putting a compensation package together that's gonna make him just as much money, right? But we get to scale and we make all the profit off of that. And this is Vince, again, another carpenter that's shutting down their business to come work at Empire. And the fact is, we're not even done marketing. So you saw 447 leads in 30 days. But if I'm such a great marketeer, why am I not telling you the story about Ryan, right? You might know Empire, but you might not know Ryan, right? And the fact is, I haven't even built up my social media yet, right? So right now we're doing video shoots and photo shoots of the guys actually building, and we're gonna develop our Facebook page, right? So when you go on Empire Deck and Fence, you go Empire Deck and Fence, you see the reviews, you like it, you get a quote, but then we do remarketing on Facebook with videos. So not only do you see Empire, you like Empire, you get the quote, but then you constantly see us doing work on your Facebook feed. So that'll be even more leads for us. And yeah, there's room to grow. So the marketing is going good. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, Bruce, I want to exit, you know, like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to get into finance. I want to get into private equity. I want to get into marketing. I got this business. What do? I joined an organization that's called Oreo. Some of you guys might know it. And again, lucky enough, Victor Minash is the president. He kind of liked me. We sat down, we had coffee. He's like, sure, I'll help you out, kid. Like, you might get lucky every now and then. So he says, you got to build an organizational chart. So the number one thing holding you back is you're doing the sales, right? So if you're doing work, you can't be the CEO. If you're out there doing quotes and doing sales, you can't free yourself up to make the management decisions. You can't be on a Zoom call and talk to people like yourself, right? So he said, you got to get out of sales. And I didn't know this, right? Like, no one told me this, but a $300,000 company is different than $1 million company. That's different than a $3 to $5 million company, right? We hear this, but until you've experienced this, you got to shift your mindset. A $300,000 company, you're doing everything, okay? $1 million company is you and maybe one other person. And if you're lucky, your numbers are tight, right? A $3 to $5 million company, you got different departments. You got an organizational chart. You got 3 salespeople, a construction management team. You got a controller. You got a design department, right? So we pretty much jumped from the $500,000 mark all the way to $3 million mark just by force. It was just like you had no choice, and we pushed it through, and we're more or less there right now. Part of the process was getting out of sales, right? So we hire one salesperson. we didn't get along. We hired a second salesperson. He wasn't accountable. The third sales guy wasn't a sales guy. He was a VP of sales, okay? I'm 25, 26. I don't know what a VP of sales is, okay? He says I'm a VP of sales, but I don't know what a VP of sales builds an organizational chart around sales. So Bruce, he would have like literally 30 door knockers. 30 guys, insane leads, right? He'd have like an inside call center, right? Setting up the appointments. He'd have the closers going out there doing the quotes. He'd have a design department creating the designs. And then he'd have a follow-up closer once the rep didn't close the file. He was gonna build like a 40, 50 person sales department, right? And one of the things about me, like you gotta know your human needs. I wanna learn and grow. So if you put a sales VP in front of me, I'm hiring this guy, right? But the fact is, don't hire a sales VP until your numbers are tight. Because you know what a sales VP wants to do? He wants to drop your price. He wants to drop your price. And he wants to sell everything under the sun. He wants to sell asphalt. He wants to sell sod. He wants to sell roofing. He had me almost trying to sell plumbing. I'm like, man, you might not know how construction works, but you don't have enough margin to sell everything under the sun and still provide quality, right? But he didn't grasp his mind around that. He's like, man, we'll figure it out. We'll get subs. We'll do everything. But meanwhile, you're paying this guy salary, right? And he's trying to build this massive, and I'm funding this thing. I'm bootstrapping the thing, Bruce. It's insane, right?
Yeah.
5 months, 3-4 months later, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I had to, right? Excuse me, get out of here. You have to go. You're gonna kill me, right? So I've learned a little. I gave him a bit of a severance package. I'm like, hey, thanks for your commitment, thanks for everything, but you got to go. Okay. We brought on the sales superstar. Okay, this is the one-man artist. This guy closes deals like no one else. He looks good. He's swanky. People like him. He brings contracts in, right? But now all of a sudden, he's a bit of a diva. You know, he's special, right? He's bringing you all the money. Without me, you wouldn't have this revenue. And then all of a sudden, as an owner, you need this guy, right? You can't run your business because he's bringing you the cash, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, this isn't working either, okay? So the VP didn't work. The sales superstar didn't work. And this is my sales team today, right? I got 3 of them, right? And if you see me right there, I'm chilling. I'm relaxed. I'm laid back, right? Because I got 3 of them, Bruce. If one of them doesn't close, the other one gets the leads, okay? If one of them starts manipulating the pricing or playing funny games, you're out of there. I still got cash flow coming in. So one won't do it. You need 3 of them. And then where am I next? And then finally, we're figuring out an organizational chart. Like we're trying to figure out a way for the sales reps to hire sales reps, right? So, hey, Mr. Sales Rep, we got a bunch of leads. You can't service them all. Why don't you get juniors underneath you? You train them up and you get a cut of their compensation. So now the sales reps are scaling themselves. So marketing is going through the roof. Sales is going through the roof. And where I got to focus right now is like A, financial controls, and B, scaling construction while maintaining quality and customer experience. So that's where I'm at right now with it. But remember when the sales superstar had to go? Where's this guy? This guy. I had to get rid of him. He's gone, okay? I couldn't replace him with just one. I had to hire 3, right? Because you don't know which one's gonna work. So I'm mid-scale because of necessity. I don't have a moment to breathe. I don't have a break, right? It's like May, I got no choice. I got to get rid of this guy. I hired 3 of them. My one project manager comes up and says, hey, I got to give you 2 weeks notice. I got a job offer at the city of Ottawa. I love the city of Ottawa, but they offer pensions. I can't afford to give you a pension. I can give you hope and dreams, but I can't back it with a pension, right? So This guy's out of here, mid-scale. And this is game over. Like there's no, like, if you own a construction company and you have sub-trades, if the material isn't on site, they don't get paid. If they don't get paid, they leave, right? There's enough demand in Ottawa that if they're good, they're getting picked up and they're gone. If jobs are left halfway finished, customers are pissed. Your reputation goes down the pipe and your margins are flat. This was the end of the business, okay? At this point, it was really bad, okay? And it was over. It was pretty much over, right? Or it was supposed to be over, right? So, yeah. So at this point, like it's done. Like, do you mean you can't? Like, I pretty much lit a candle. Do you mean? Because like, if you thought about it, if your brain thought about the problem, there was no hope, right? But I don't know if it's like meditation or whatever it is, but if you have to calm your brain down. You can't be afraid, right? And so it's like if you're gonna fail in business, right? If you're not gonna make it, right? Because the odds are you aren't gonna make it. How do you conduct yourself, right? Like when you show up to work and there's little to no hope, like what are you gonna do? Sorry, can someone mute themselves? There's like background noise. Hello?
I'm gonna check. I'll check Siavosh if somebody's not muted. I'll mute them.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay, keep going, brother.
Yeah, so that's pretty much where you're at with it right now. Like, so like if you're not gonna make it, like if it's Monday at 9 p.m. and the odds are Tuesday, one guy's quitting, how do you show up Tuesday morning and conduct yourself, right? So at that point is like, like they say do the best you can, but like operate as ethically as you can, right? So you have to communicate with openness and trust to the trades. The trades didn't walk, Bruce. They
That's
stuck
incredible. Siavosh, you got a question here. I'll just boot it up here so I make sure I get it right. It's from Daniel. He says, can you pay somebody a full commission, especially now during the time of COVID-19?
You want to do a holdback on the com, right, in case they cancel? Like you want to hold the percentage of the commission, right?
Yeah.
Or you want to wait until the service is rendered and then pay them out after, whatever you can negotiate, right?
So you would do a holdback on the commission?
Yeah, you don't want to incur expenses without bringing in revenue, right? That's the golden model.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So you just explain to the rep, be like, listen, if you want to make money, you have to work with us here, right? Because I can't take on all the risk and you just get paid. And they'll always, like, you got to understand, if it's a salesperson, they're going to negotiate, right? If they're negotiating to sell for you, they're negotiating fundamentally for their own commission, right? So it's a point of conversation. Anyway, so yeah, so pretty much, yeah, you light the candle, you breathe, you just conduct yourself as best you can, and you just find a reason not to quit, right? So for example, I called Ryan, he came in a couple days later. It's just somewhere in my brain, like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call this guy. He shows up. I throw a bunch of money at him. I pay him top dollar. We fought like crazy. But the thing is, we didn't speak fear, Bruce. I didn't let myself speak any words of fear. I didn't let myself get afraid. And like, I think you can just turn that, I don't know what it is, but at some points you just turn that switch off and you don't.
So Siavosh, I really think that's an important point. We've heard that a couple of times already in this course. Nelson Mandela has said it best, I think. Don't make decisions based on fear. Make decisions based on hope. And, you know, I know because I've been getting a lot of email from the people in this class, and a lot of the people in this class are a little bit fearful about going out and starting a business. Maybe they're going to get a few no's. You know, I mean, if you make 10 sales pitches, you're not going to get them all. At least I don't get them all. And you are going to get no's. And there's always a little bit of fear. But you have to make decisions based on hope, not fear.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes you can use contrast, right? Like, what are you really afraid of? Do you know what I mean? And that's where your why comes in, right? Okay, so what if you're afraid? Like, so what? Right?
Well, you know, the way I look at it, Siavosh, is very simple. You know, if I, you know, I'm a real estate agent, I'm a coach, and, you know, if I do a biz dev call and, you know, I do 10 of them, I'll probably get 5 no's. And, you know, people, you know, some people are crushed by a no, but I look at it differently. There's 3 answers you can get to any question: yes, no, or maybe. And to me, yes is the best answer. Okay, I get that. But no is the second best answer. Maybe doesn't do you any good. If I go out and I pitch a new deck, a new fence, some interlock, and somebody says, well, I might be interested in that. Maybe I'll take you up on that. I would say to the customer, this is just me as a salesperson, I would say, I'm going to take that as a no. because, you know, it just frees up my time to do something else. And then often the customer will say, well, I didn't mean to say no. Then I'll say, well, okay, say yes.
Yeah. Yeah. If that's your worst case scenario, someone saying no to you, like that's a pretty, that's keep going. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, that's
Keep going.
like, there's nothing to be, yeah. So I lost money that year and I'm sitting there, I'm like, Bruce, why am I doing this? Like, honestly, like, I mean, you got a smart child. Like, why am I doing this? Right. And part of it is like, Bruce didn't let me quit. Right. Bruce wouldn't let me quit.
I would.
I can't, like, you can't, like, if I quit, he wouldn't talk to me. Right. And that's,
I'm not sure that's true, but I did say to Siavosh, when you're going through hell, keep going.
so I had jobs that weren't complete. So I had to, so I started going to this guy's seminar. This is Tony Robbins. Some of you know him. And what he says is your mind and your body are linked, right? So the way you use your body affects the way your mind works. So if you can use the way your body moves, right? If you go like this and you're pumped, right? Endorphins, whatever it is, you got more energy to work with, right? And then maybe in that different mind-body state, you make better decisions. And then maybe instead of being afraid, you're grateful for the fact that, hey, you know what? We're in a pretty cool city. Do you know what I mean? We got a lot going for ourselves. So let's appreciate what we have instead of being like afraid of.
And you know, I had lunch with Tony Robbins a few years ago, and he's very funny. He's very high energy. You know, he really understands the human condition, I think. And one of the things he told me was that if you're stumped, if you're, you know, you've got a problem and you can't figure it out and you're hunched over your computer or over your workbench and you can't figure it out, stop, get up, move the furniture, move yourself. And something else he said to me, and I'm sure you know this, Siavosh, because you know him better than I do, is that you don't want to be in a room with a low ceiling height. He said, human beings are weird. When we go into a room that has, you know, like a 30-foot ceiling height, or we go outside into the big sky, our minds expand and solutions come. So I think, you know, Tony has a real understanding of how to help entrepreneurs get the right mindset, but also when they have trouble to move the furniture, change the equation, get up, run around. And just by the fact you get up and run around or move around, you start to see things from a new perspective and solutions do come.
Well, you talked about that. Like if things go bad, you got one day to feel sorry. You got one day to pick yourself up, and the third day you got to get some exercise. So that's part of your mom. So anyways, okay, cool. So figure out your why, Damien, and hopefully there's a reason greater than yourself to keep going. So we kept the business going, and part of it was our cash flow model, right? If you look at it, we collect funds up front. We pay a little bit of project management, a tiny bit of commission, right? Maybe a third of the commission, maybe half the commission, maybe a fifth of the commission. Then when the materials show up, we start framing the job finishes. So we pretty much collect all our cash before we pay our guys. They're on 2-week cycles, pay our suppliers, pay our commission, right? So we're in a cash flow positive business.
Can I stop you there for a second, Sia?
Yeah.
So Dan, to answer your question, okay, this is probably, from a point of view of the actual functioning of a business, is probably the most important slide. There is a term for this. It's called the cash conversion cycle. If your cash conversion cycle, like Siavosh's, is negative, it means you're always working in a cash positive position. It also means as you grow, the faster you grow, the more cash you have on hand. The opposite is also true. I had a client by the name of Fuel Industries. They were a tech company, and they were doing major work. They were doing games, online games for McDonald's Europe, Pepsi, General Motors, big companies. So they would create really cool online games, sponsored online games for these big companies. And these were $1 million, $2 million, and $3 million projects. And it was, Fuel Industries was a $100 million a year business. I get a call from the founders of Fuel Industries, Siavosh, and the Royal Bank of Canada, that wonderful bank, you know, Canadian banks only lend money to people who don't need it, calls their measly $250,000 credit facility, and Fuel Industries, which is profitable and growing, can't pay their bills. Now, how is that possible that you could be a profitable company and not pay your bills? It's because their cash conversion cycle was wrong. So let's just make it simple for everybody. Whether you're selling a clothing line, Van, you listening? Are you getting bored yet? Attaboy, pump us up. So whether you're selling a clothing line, the decks and fences and interlock, or you're selling online games to major companies, if you have $1 million project that you're supposed to deliver and you take a 10% deposit, which Fuel was doing, you get $100,000 on the day you sign the contract or a few days after that, but you don't get paid until you finish. And that can take a year, maybe even a little bit longer. So you still got to pay all your engineers, all your coders, all your costs, your lease costs, your, everything, all the costs that you incur. And then finally, when you deliver the product, you get paid the rest. So that was a recipe for disaster. So what we did was over the next 2 weeks before the next payroll, we called all of their customers, because where do you go when you're in trouble? Where do you go for help? You can go to your suppliers, you can go to your customers, you can go to your shareholders, you can go to your board of directors, and you can go to your bank. But in Canada, that fifth one doesn't work very well. So we went to their customers and we made some calls. And when we talked to General Motors and we talked to Pepsi and Lego and McDonald's of Europe, we said, could you please send a 30% of the balance of the contract owing immediately, because otherwise Fuel is going to be in financial trouble. Now, why would they send that money? Because they know that if Fuel goes under, their sponsored game, the one that they're going to launch with, those Happy Meals that they're serving in Europe, those games are not going to be delivered at all. So of all the companies we called, almost all of them, all except one, I won't mention which one, almost all of them sent 30% of the balance, which was, we collected millions of dollars in US currency in like 2 weeks, paid off the darn Royal Bank of Canada, and of course they were cash positive. From then on, what they did was they took a 30% deposit when they signed the agreement, another 30% at a milestone, say after 3 or 4 months, another 30% after another 3 or 4 months, and just 10% at the end. When you change your cash conversion cycle, it means the faster you grow, if you do it that way, the way that Siavosh does it, the way that Fuel was taught to do it, that means the faster you grow, the more cash you have on hand. It's a very important metric. Whether it's a very small business, we could be running a shoe store, we've got to figure out our cash conversion cycle. Okay, everybody?
And I think some entrepreneurs, they don't do that because they want to make the sale easy, right? So they'll
but you will go out of business doing that.
They forget that, right?
Yeah, you will definitely go out of business. All right, keep going, Sia. You're on a roll, brother.
Machinery, okay? They were hand digging interlock, right? Hand digging. And then we got this thing here, it's an MT85. And pretty much my cost of labor went down by 70%. So I saved $3,200 on labor, and the machine cost me $800 a month. That's literally a $45,000 machine that I put no money down on. And the day I signed that paperwork, a week later, that machine's paid for the month, right? So, and I don't have to pay that $800 till the end of the month. So that in of itself, getting machinery and equipment, like 0%, like it's just, you don't put any money down, and then, and your labor cost plummets. So there's a huge return on investment on that. Plus I'm putting in more product. So not only am I saving something like $2,400 a month, I'm able to build more. So that might be another $8,000 a month. So we're getting machinery involved in the company. And one of my reps calls me today and says, hey, Siavosh, do you guys have financing? I'm like, we do have financing. And it's cheaper than a credit card.
Wow.
It's like 9% financing on a project. So, hey, if you want to upgrade from wood to composite, do you mean? I know you want to do like maybe your basement, or, we built you the deck. Maybe you want to get your basement done in the winter, or you want to get that interlock with your patio, or maybe you just can't afford it right now, but you want to take advantage of it because labor costs are going up, prices are going up. Like, it's just, we're seeing inflation happen. 9% interest, you can take advantage of it. The one thing I'm super excited about is the 0% interest equal payments. Now, Bruce, I want to make sure I understand this, but for 24 months, it's a 9% fee, upfront 9% fee, but that's something like 4.5% a year.
So, Siavosh, can I stop you there? This is, we're getting comments that, man, this is fantastic. Of course, they're talking about me, Siavosh.
Of course.
No.
I'm your student.
No. I'm just teasing you, brother. I'm telling you, this is a wonderful, wonderful lecture you're giving at. Just so everybody knows, Siavosh spent 15 hours preparing for this. So at the end of this, I want everybody to put something in the chat box like he did this as a volunteer. And as you know, he is also a sponsor of this course. There are 6 people in this course because of his generosity, and I can't thank him enough. And the 6 people who are in the course, you know who you are, and this is the man you have to thank for that. So again, thank you. But this is really, really important. This is the biggest problem I have, Siavosh, with Canadian startups. The people I coach in the United States, they get this, but the people I coach in Canada often don't. And let me ask you this question, Siavosh. If you and I were selling RVs for $100,000 or $150,000 or $200,000, and there was no financing available, how many RVs do you think we would sell?
Our sales would be down 90%.
Yeah, I would think 90%. There are rich dudes who come in and they can write a check for $200,000, get themselves a nice RV. But that's a very small number, especially in Canada. I mean, there are more rich people in the United States than there are in Canada, or at least there used to be. And so if we didn't have financing, there you go. So I have clients who produce beautiful things, tiny homes, workshops, backyard workshops, basement renovations. They don't have any financing. And I say, what if you went to Leon's, the furniture supply store? You guys know, if you've ever been to Leon's, you can go and buy $10,000 or $20,000 worth of furniture or dishwashers, washing machines, dryers, what have you. And they say, don't pay a cent. And you go, what? Yeah, you don't have to pay a cent. You can come and get $15,000, as long as you have decent credit, you can get $15,000 worth of furniture and appliances from the store and not pay until next February of 2021. You go, oh, this is awesome. And that's great. Okay, fine. But it's not Leon's that is financing you. It's, in this case, it's Credit Desjardins. So Desjardins buys that contract from Leon's and provides the financing. And so when you eventually start paying next February, you'll notice that you're not paying Leon's, you're paying Desjardins, which is fine. And there are many other groups that provide this kind of financing. So I have a question for you, Siavosh. This is fantastic news. I didn't know this until just now. Does that mean if somebody wanted to do a basement renovation for $100,000 and they came to you, during the winter time when you're doing it, that they could get some financing for that basement renovation?
Bruce, imagine the internal rate of return, right? If you put in a basement apartment, right, and you're getting more than 9% on it, the basement pays for itself. So this goes up to $100,000 at 9%.
So so everybody understands that now Siavosh is in a position at Empire Deck and Fence and Interlock to make this pitch for a basement apartment or a micro suite or maybe even a coach house, right, Siavosh?
Yeah, we talked to Ferris Homes on Saturday.
Yeah. So listen to this. If you are a homeowner, think about this. You put in a basement apartment or a micro suite, or you build a coach house. We're just going to say it's $100,000. Micro suite would be less. The basement apartment would be about $100,000. The coach house would be a bit more. But just for the sake of today's argument in class, we're going to say it's $100,000. And you're paying, say, 8.99% interest. So that means on $100,000, just interest, you're paying about $9,000 a year. But let's say you rent that basement apartment out for $1,500 a month. That's $18,000 a year. So you're getting $18,000 a year by renting it out, and you're paying out $9,000 of interest plus some principal. But we'll just say, make it simple. So the cost to put a basement renovation in is negative. So Siavosh can go and say, I'll put a basement apartment in. It's going to cost you $100,000. Maybe you have to put down a $10,000 deposit. We'll finance the rest, just like Leon's does, only it's not really Siavosh or Leon's doing it. It's Finance It or it's Desjardins doing it. And the cost for you putting in your basement apartment is negative. You can hire me for a negative cost. It's the most powerful sales tool that I've ever discovered. It's called negative cost selling, and you can do that for things like basement apartments.
Bruce, I'm excited.
Me too. I'm telling you, I'm going to make sure that the real estate people, not just on this call and in this course, but all the others, you know, I've got a big ROI group now, over 550. They're all going to see this video. I'm sorry, you're going to get even busier, see ya.
I'll take the business. Thank you. I got a promo for them in the winter too. Okay, so mentor number 4, Mo Bass, 27 years old. This guy built a crazy ass organizational chart. So it's like at every phase. So when he says the path appears, sometimes it's like you need to learn what you need to learn when you need to learn it. So this dude at 27 built a massive organizational chart. And then he was able to put a management and team in place that grew the business for him. And he's building a second company. I've never seen anybody do that before. And this is him, 27. He had the Prime Minister of Canada talk about manifestation. He showed up, and I think, Bruce, you were there too, no?
Yep.
So learning how to put an org chart together. So that's what, so we got our construction team, our design team, our sales team, our construction team. We're putting systems in place. I like selling, I like marketing, I like connecting. But if you're going to build a business, you got to have an accounting system. You got to have a quick estimating system. I got an iPad. The reps go out there, they punch in their quote on the iPad, boom, better than anybody else, on the spot, accurate, done. We're putting a project management software in place. It's called Monday. You know what I mean? It's like Gantt chart, it's a to-do list, it's all that great stuff. Processes, like if a sales rep keeps making the same mistake over and over again, the project managers and the foremans are videotaping it, put it in on Drive. So that's part of your sales training. You want to get hired, you got to watch these 10 hours of videos and write a little test. So now you know the basics. Project management, like who calls the locates, who files the permit. Like, should I get my project manager filing permits, or is he better off in the field doing quality control, upselling, and paying a $15 an hour engineering intern or whatever to file permits and call locates, and they're all excited about that, right? So that's part of the org chart. Inventory management, we're looking to bring in truckloads of composite. The price goes down by 30-40% if you go straight to the manufacturer. So take the truckload, take the financing, take the estimating, take the leads, take all that. And what I think we're starting to find, I'll come up to it later, is the 80-20 principle. Where do you make your money, right? Is it deck, is it fence, is it interlock, right? It might not be fence. You might not make money on fence. It might be a commodity, it's dollar per foot, it's a small job, right? You might make more money on composite decks and interlock. So think about the whole residential construction industry, right? So you got a general contractor who does roofing, he does a bathroom, and then he does a basement, right? So you need drywallers down there, and you need bundles on the roof, right? You got all these different scopes of work, and then you're supposed to add substantial value to the customer while hitting profit. Like, it's just crazy. So we're looking at this interlock, and we're narrowing that down even more to say, okay, well, it's going to be composite decks because we're going to have truckloads of compo and aluminum railing. It's going to be interlock because we got an MT85 that's only 35 inches wide, and we can go between the gates without ripping out the posts. We're in and out of 300 square feet in a day, right? So that's where we're at right now. And then now this is my challenge right now, because there's no labor in Ottawa, right? So how do because if you pay them hourly, you don't have labor cost controls, right? You can't pay them hourly. So how do I set up an incentive where Ryan's like, man, I don't want to do sales. I don't want to do marketing. I don't want to do accounting. I mean, I just want to have my truck. I want to have my tools. I want to have my 3 crews. I want to feel like a boss. I want to drive around and run my job sites. Your customers are going to love me, right? The trades will respect me. And he's got a nice, like, you know, $40,000 truck driving around. So this is the next, you know how the sales reps almost killed me? I think this is the final phase. If I figure this out, then all of a sudden I'm going to have the best carpenters in town coming to work for Empire, right? Because it's nice to be outside putting in a deck. And if you're getting top dollar and customers love you, it's a good place to work. So I was literally pissed this morning, Bruce. I was going to kill somebody. But that never works. It doesn't, because they quit. They quit on you. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, again, managing my psychology, be like, listen, don't get mad at the trades. The issue is the comp model, right? The sales VP was incentivized to build a whole org. The one-man salesperson had too much leverage. But these are good dudes. So if I put the right compensation model in place, they're going to want to work for Empire, right?
Right on.
So that's my challenge today. Today, and probably in the next, like, maybe year, like, I don't know, he won't let me quit, but like, fuck, it might take me a year to get it done. It might take me 2 years, right? Putting the project management, putting the comp model in place, getting it done, right? Freaking John, look at this guy. Great guy. Does interlock, customers love him, right? And that's it. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, why am I doing this decks and fences? I'm all smart. Like, why am I doing this stuff? And I'm going to Tony, and maybe I can help other people, right? So that's the meaning I'm associating to build for growth. I've been through the pain. I've been through the hardship. I've been through the dark. So if I can help you grow your business from $300,000 to $1 million, it might feel good for me. Like, do you mean, it might mean like I made your life better in a way, right? So we're looking at this thing called Built for Growth, and it's pretty much a contracted training school. Now, I'm doing contracting specifically because I know the industry. Like, I built it, I'm building it. It's not like I'm some kind of guru who's never done anything. Like, Bruce has actually done real estate deals, some of the best deals in town, right? You're learning from Bruce, right? You're learning from people who have actually done stuff. And the whole educational industry is going to get shifted because half these guys teaching don't know anything. So I'm looking at this industry, cost of goods are small, risk is small, and you can add substantial value to the client. I'm looking to do an August 1st quick session start, $10,000 value. I'm going to come and build out your sales team. I'm going to teach you a foreman to get reviews. I'm going to teach you how to upsell. I'm going to teach you how to get referrals. So I'm going to get your sales up, and I'm going to get your marketing up too. I'm going to build out your Facebook page. I'm going to do a 90-second video commercial, and I'm going to do 3 video shoots. Wow. So by the time I'm done, you're going to have a Facebook page, and I'm going to go in the field with you. I'm going to start getting you reviews so you can build up your brand value. I'm going to teach you guys how to upsell. So the agenda is pretty quick. You come in, we go over the fundamentals, we start bringing cash in, and then we do Friday social distant barbecues or whatever. Do you mean we're all separate and we go over your numbers and we troubleshoot, right? So the goal is by the time you're done with me, you can charge more, you can sell more, and you can pay your people more. Because then when your foreman's upselling for you, he's getting you a review, he's creating value for you as the owner. So now you can, and I already came up with the comp model. I can give you the compensation model, and then you can pay him more. So now he's not quitting on you. He's got buy-in to the brand, right? It frees you off the tools. They have an incentive to make sure the customer's happy. And then we can grow you from that $300,000 mark where you're on the tools to the $1 million mark where you got 2 or 3 crews in the field, and you're pretty much just doing your quotes, and we'll get you an office admin to free you up too. So that's the goal. That's how I'm gonna take them from 300 to $1 million. That's the goal. $10,000 training package, Facebook page, build out $13,000 package. The government's actually hooked us up with a COVID subsidy. It's a training program. All this is like freaking 90% off. I'm doing it for $1,800 right now. I just want a handful of businesses that I can prove their value to, right? If I can, I just want 6 of them. August 1st, I want to get them in there. I want to start changing their lives. So that's B4G, right? That's built for growth. And hopefully all the hardship actually has a purpose beyond me at some point. And
can you go back to the previous slide?
Yeah, this one?
Yeah. So it's an $1,800 package, is that right?
Yeah, normally we charge 10 G's for the training because you're getting me one-on-one.
No, I understand that. So the cost is it $3,000 or is it $1,800?
It's normally $13,000, but with the subsidy, we got it down to $1,800.
Wow. Wow, that's fantastic, Siavosh.
I'm building up your marketing and sales.
Yep.
I don't know what the return on investment is there, but like, we'll make you money. Like,
well, you know, I'm not here just to, you know, sell for Siavosh, but, you know, I know something about marketing and sales, but Siavosh actually knows how to make it work where the rubber meets the road. You know, a lot of people, they tell you that they're marketing agencies or they're digital agencies. They're really not. What they could do is they could give you a nice logo. They can give you maybe a tagline. Maybe they can't do that. They can put together some nice videos probably. They can put together a nice website. But then you say, well, how are you going to drive traffic to the website? How am I going to convert that traffic to sales? They kind of go, what? We don't do that. Well, so that's not marketing. I don't know what that is. I guess it's graphic design, you know, of sorts, right? They can make a nice video. They can, like I said, give you a nice business card and a nice website or a nice app. But, you know, how many apps are there, Siavosh, out there today? There's got to be many millions of apps. Most of the apps, you know, you guys all know Spotify, the music service. Well, there's part of Spotify which is called Notify. I don't know how many tunes there are on Spotify, but it's in the, you know, tens of millions. Maybe let's say it's 100 million. But the last time I checked, there were 5 million tunes on Spotify that had never ever been listened to, not even once. That's why it's called Notify. Not a single listener. 5 million of them sitting there. There's probably more now, but that was a few years ago. So you know, I do know that Siavosh knows more about marketing than I do, and he knows about how to make the phone ring. And when you ask the typical marketing agency or digital marketing agency, can you make the phone actually ring, or the email ping, or whatever, they kind of look at you like you've got two heads.
And the other thing I want to give them, Bruce, is the 80-20 principle. Like, I don't want just the phone ringing. I want to get you jobs. I want to get you projects that actually not just convert. We'll do that. But like, I want so many calls that you find the scope of work that makes you money, right? Because like, we got 447 leads, but we're at the point where we disqualify 70% of them, and we offer value to those specific clients.
How do you disqualify the 70% that are probably no good?
So here's the thing, right? A salesperson is incentivized by compensation, right? If you pay them a flat commission rate, they'll sell whatever and everything under the sun. So it's the pricing model and the compensation model. The equation of the two incentivizes the right behavior, right? So if you can set up a pricing model and a compensation model to drive towards the ideal product, you can give them every single lead under the sun, but they're naturally going to move towards the money, right? Because that's what sales.
So Siavosh, some people are asking a couple of questions. One, this course that you're offering, because not everybody on this call is in Ottawa. Some are in the United States, some are in Vancouver, some are in Vancouver Island, some are in Alberta, all over the place. Could you do some of it, or some of the training over Zoom?
100%. So Bruce, I'm super excited about this, right? So if they're willing to work with me, I'm willing to work with them. That's pretty much it. Like, I got the idea. I'm in the prototype stage. I'm here to create value, and just like, if I can get a couple testimonials off these business owners, that's a win for me. So if they're in Vancouver, Alberta, I'll work with them.
Yeah, if you reach out to me, Siavosh, I will give you a testimonial from the founder of the Ottawa Senators. I will give you a testimonial. The other question is, Janice is asking, who should take this course? Is it just contractors, or would other people in the sales business or sales cycle benefit as well?
You heard what my strengths are, right? So I went, I door knocked, I got 447 leads, I put a compensation model together, and now I'm building an org chart, and I'm trying to figure out, like, that's the way my brain works. So I'm a chemical engineer that's engineering a business, right? So can I add value to you? I don't know. Can I make the phone ring? Can I put a sales team in place? Can I put a sales compensation model together? Can I shoot a video for you? I know construction, but if you look at me, I think I'm more like, and Bruce with a task, I haven't built a deck yet. And you might want to edit that part out, right?
I'm not editing anything. Everything on this is on the record, brother. Siavosh, so the question that Janice asked is, would this be something that could people other than contractors could benefit from?
100%. If you're a realtor, I'll rock it for you. Right? I'll get your social media up. If you're a mortgage broker, get your social media done. I could get into Google and AdWords, but right now we're targeting Facebook, because that cost per click, you ask any of the great marketers, it's just a great ROI.
Another question you got here from Armin. Is the business subsidy alone do the difference between the $1,800 and the $13,000? Do the students have to pay that back?
So the deal is, the government's giving me that money. Okay, you pay me, the government pays you. Okay, the reason they subsidize the training is because I increase the value of your employees, right? So if I hit the field and all of a sudden your people are upselling or getting you reviews, it's expected that you pay them for that. Right? Remember the tree, the roots, the organizational trust. They're gonna work for you because you pay them more. Now I'm gonna come in there and I'm gonna give them some skill sets that are worth value, right? They're gonna create the value for them. You're gonna pay them more, and the government's gonna subsidize me for training them because now they're worth more.
I get that. So a couple more questions. This one's from Chris. Is there a link to a site for this training that he can pass on to his nephew who has a renovation company that he would benefit from this?
super excited Facebook page. I'll share it with you, Bruce. It's called Build for Growth. I'm creating live content as I go through my days.
Could you type that into the chat box, Siavosh? And for everybody, because I know we're getting quite a few calls or questions on this. See, if you don't mind, yeah, go to the Facebook page. That's great. And we'll see it here in a minute.
So this is hit here.
It'll resolve in a second.
Yeah. I'm pumped, man. I did a 90-second. This is what I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you guys a 90-second commercial, right? So this is what happens. You get a commercial at the top of the video, right?
Fabulous.
Boom, right? We screen capture it. You come down here, I get you a couple more videos, some jobs or whatever you've done. We get you some reviews, and then your online market or whatever should be able to do redirect marketing to this. So now you got a social aspect to your business. Because I'm telling you, I'm still learning. Like when I got 447 leads, you still don't know who John is. John's unbelievable. You love the guy, right? So that's what I'm working on right now. And then I can share that with you and then go in there and like train your people up too.
So can you put, would you mind in the chat box, would you mind just clipping that link, put it in the chat box with your, if it's okay with you, Siavosh, with your email address and cell number, if that's okay.
Okay, that's that, 613-2. Do me a favor, please text me, because like.
Yeah, don't phone, text, everybody should text.
Yeah.
And can you put the email address in there too?
This is my personal email.
Yeah.
And then put subject line B4G.
Yeah.
For B4G.
Perfect. So, you know, the Siavosh, who is as busy as I am, maybe even more busy, is asking everybody to respect his time. So text or email, not phone calls, because phone calls just take too much time. You know, how are you? Good. How are the kids? Great. How are your kids? Great. And 5 minutes or 6 minutes later, you know, what I called about is, that takes too long. So just text Siavosh, email him. You can always reach out to him on Facebook as well, Built for Growth. You can see it there. It's really an exciting program. And Siavosh, I had no idea just how broad and how much thought has gone into it. And the fact that you can deliver the program over Zoom, I think is great. As you know, Siavosh, these Zoom sessions you can record as well, so that when you're doing training for a particular client, you can, if it's one-on-one training or even one-on 30 or 1 on 50, you can record it, download it to your computer, upload it to YouTube, unlisted or listed publicly, whatever you decide, whatever you and your group decide. Zoom is a very, very good way to teach people, especially during COVID-19.
I'm telling you, Bruce, as you walk, the path appears.
That's right. And, you know, it was a Persian philosopher.
So excited for that.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I hear you. It's a beautiful, beautiful. I use that all the time. As you walk, the path appears, and that's why I'm trying to get everybody over the fear of starting a business, over the fear of getting a few no's, over the fear of maybe not initially being successful. I mean, Siavosh has been very honest on this call. It wasn't all, you know, a lot of people, when they tell their story, they only tell the good parts, which is nice, but it isn't really instructive. It isn't a proper case study. And Sia, you've done a great case study today. Do we have any other questions for Siavosh? And we got a few here. Great class, good program, well done, Siavosh. Yeah, I mean, it's just overwhelming. And by the way, I just can't thank you enough for doing this. It's been fantastic.
I had a blast.
I hope so. And if it's okay with you, Siavosh, I've got about 550 people in the ROI group. If it's okay with you, I'm going to show them this video.
If it helps, thank you, Bruce. I can't ask.
No, I'm really great. Okay, so for once, we are getting through a little bit early. We're not going into overtime. We've got about another 12 minutes. If there are any last questions, you can stop sharing your screen now, Siavosh, if you don't mind, so we can see everybody. If there are any last minute questions, we've got Siavosh here. He's an incredible a resource. He's a national treasure now. You know, I'm so proud of him, and he's a former student who's now exceeded his professor. I think that's great. That's what you want when Siavosh, when you have kids and your kids do better than dad. It's just a wonderful feeling. I mean it. It's incredible. And some of the people in this class are now doing things that are really good. I'm starting to see business models, business ideas, message maps that are really good. People are really inventing cool stuff. So don't forget, guys, there's no class, no formal class next week. There is some reading that you have to do, and there's some more assignments that you have to do. Remember, you owe me 2 burning questions, 2 questions about entrepreneurship or about real estate that you would like to ask, and we'll do a student-led lecture. So there's no class, no formal class next week, but the following Thursday there will be, and stand by for an email from me. Let's just see. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Oh, that's Paula says that. Paula, I've never heard that one before, but that makes sense to me. In this case, I think that's you, Siavosh. The students here are ready to hear what you had to say. And you, like the Persian, you know, from ancient days, you just appeared and you have just exceeded all expectations. I'm not surprised. One last question from Dustin to you, and then we are going to, oh, we're seeing some claps now. That's awesome. Thank you for that. One last question from Dustin. Siavosh, how do you manage your time?
To be frank, I'm not the best at time management. Like there's GTD where you write everything down and you reduce like your brain's necessity to memorize stuff. Like if you got to remember stuff, you're using up glycogen, you're using up RAM. So you want to document everything so it gets it off your brain and you can scan through it. But the fact is, it's 80-20. Only 20% of your activities will create all the value. I put more time into this than I did organizing my yard at my office. Like I could literally go into my yard and start picking through 2x4s and stack. I could. It's on the to-do list. But I don't know, man. I have more fun doing this, and I think this will create more impact for me and others. So it's documented, it's off the RAM, and then you scan through it, and where's the opportunities?
And Dustin, if I could add to that, you know, Dustin, you know this, I'm a sole practitioner. You know, I have people I work with who are affiliated with me, but I'm a sole practitioner. But I do have one assistant that I can delegate to, and that assistant doesn't mind how much I delegate. I can download as much as I want. That assistant is called Google Calendar. And I know you're laughing at me, but I put into Google Calendar everything. If Siavosh asks me to do something, I don't have time to do it today, and I tell Siavosh I'll do it next Thursday, I put a little reminder in Google Calendar. Siavosh asked me to do blah, blah, blah. Do it on Thursday. Once it's in Google Calendar, I have delegated it to Google Calendar to remind me that I have to do it, and I absolutely forget about it. I mean, it's as if it doesn't exist until that reminder shows up, because we are all so busy, you know, trying to survive, you know, in COVID-19, trying to keep our businesses going, trying to set up a business, trying to survive what is really an unprecedented, we have never seen this since the 1700s. You've heard me say it before. Since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, there has never been an economic downturn as severe as this worldwide. Never, not even close. So, you know, Google Calendar or Outlook Calendar or any other calendar you use, they're probably all very similar. Put in, use it like religiously. Everything that you think you know, oh, I got to remember this. No, don't try and remember it. Like I love Siavosh, and somebody else said he loved your RAM idea. Get rid of out of RAM, put it into Google Calendar, Outlook Calendar, and then when the time comes, you look at that and you know you have to deal with it. So just schedule it for later. And somebody is saying, Armin is saying to Alexa, you know, the Amazon assistant, remember to drink water for 7 p.m. So you could delegate to Alexa too. She'll remind you that. And I'm sure Google Home does that as well. I don't care how you do it, but I think this is fantastic. I have one last question for you, Siavosh. I think on the coach house idea, you know, some coach houses are going to cost 200 grand. It would be interesting to talk to finance it to see if they would consider going to $200,000 to allow you to build coach houses, because coach houses will be even more of a negative cost for homeowners if they can have it financed. The problem with coach houses right now is we can't finance them in the mortgages, right? If you've got 2 years left on your term or 3 years left on your term, right now the Canadian banks are not going to increase that. So to build a coach house is a real issue now to finance it. So can I leave that to you to think about?
Of course, I talked to Ferris Homes, and we talked about the piles, we talked about the foundation, we talked about the building envelope.
Yeah. So, but I mean, the finance it would go from a maximum of 100,000 to a maximum of 200,000. That would be very, very, very helpful. All right. So Rick Sterling says he uses the Todoist, which links to Google or Outlook calendars. So Todoist. Google Home will also remind you of things that you have to do. But what Siavosh is saying is really important, Dustin. Make sure that you've got some kind of a system that you can offload all of that, because one of the things that a lot of young people think they can do, and I've been teaching for a long time now, is they think they can multitask. In actual fact, if you're listening to music, if you're listening to this, fan, if you're listening to music, you know, you have a Facebook conversation, you're doing something on Instagram, you know, you're answering email, you're answering texts, and you're trying to do work, you probably are not doing anything very well. The best coders in the world, they put on something here so that they're contained in their own world, and they spend 8, 10, 12, even 14, 18 hours getting into the zone and staying in the zone so they can produce really good work. So human beings do things, but they do it best when they do one thing at a time. And that's another reason why I've said to everybody since we started this course, please, in your business model, find a business model that you're passionate about, that you've got some skills, right? Where your heart and your head and your gut are all saying, this is what I really should do. And then focus on that, and everything else should be a hobby, right? You get better and better and better at that. If Siavosh, you know, because I know he was distracted, and I used to tell Siavosh this, you know, he had other ideas, but when he focused, and then he focused it and he focused it more, you could see what an incredible result he's had. And this is just the start. I mean, he's a young man. If I were around, might not be, but 20 or 30 years from now, you can only imagine what Siavosh could achieve. All right. So everybody's saying again, Siavosh, bravo. Thank you very much, everybody. We're actually going to finish 4 minutes early.
Cool. Thank you, Bruce. Thanks to you, everyone.